and welcome to this brand new episode of Geek Bites here, brought to you by the
Geek Buddies.
Hey! We're back at it today to talk about the special release or drop that happened today from James Gunn, dropping the first pictures of the Superman suit here. There it is in all its glory. David Corenswet there, sitting in what might be his apartment or house in Metropolis there, and right behind him, this massive eye in the sky shooting some sort of purple laser beam down to Metropolis. James Gunn's original post is on Threads. He said, "Get ready, Superman 7/11/25." And responding to people's questions about it, he said the above photo was taken on set by Jess Miglio and was entirely in camera. So I go to our resident Superman expert first, and that is Michael Vogel. Michael, your thoughts on this dropping today, and also what you think of this overall look here of the first shot of David Corenswet in the Superman costume that we will see in Superman from James Gunn.
Well, as far as why today, who knows? Maybe everybody was a little drunk on Cinco de Mayo and said, "Hey, let's send it out." Like, I don't know. I don't know why today, but I do like, you know what? But I like that we're kind of getting these little things in drips and drabs. I think like a slow rollout of things. I mean, Matt Reeves did a lot of the same thing. I mean, one day Matt Reeves was just like, "Hey, here's the Batmobile." And I think doing it in that way is kind of it's fun. It gets us all excited. It takes us by surprise. And, you know, it gives us a lot to talk about because obviously at some point we're going to get a teaser and at some point we're going to get a trailer. But all of the things that James Gunn has posted, the photos of the cast on set, it just sort of gives us a constant state of excitement that this thing is coming. And I think, you know, as Mike Kalinowski and I were just texting about, there's a lot for everyone to be excited about right now. If you are a hardcore DC fan and you've been a DC fan through Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman and Wonder Woman 84, you're going to be excited for this new chapter, mostly. Yeah. And if you're a Marvel fan who maybe those weren't your biggest things that you were into, and you didn't necessarily love all of Zack Snyder's choices, you're excited for this new chapter. So I think there's a lot for everyone to get excited about. As far as what I think, I like it. I like it. It's not necessarily like, you know, James Gunn has done this interesting thing. As much as he's talked about going back to classic Superman, the original Superman, what he thinks of as Superman, a lot of his choices, the logo, this suit, he's pulling from some different eras. You know, I mean, he said early on when he kind of went through his inspirations, the New 52 was one of those inspirations. And when you look at this costume and you see the high collar, you're seeing some of the New 52 elements in this costume, which New 52 is not everybody's bag. I think most of us think the New 52 did more harm than good, but it's interesting to see those elements there. It's interesting, you know, really a clear look at the logo, and we have sort of that Kingdom Come style logo. And as everybody has been talking about, the red underpants are back. We got red underpants in there. So we've got the red sort of underpant thing. We've got a Kingdom Come style logo. We've got a New 52 style collar, and we've got Superman putting on his boots one boot at a time, just like everybody else out there. So, you know, I think in addition to the look of the suit, the choice of having Superman kind of sitting there in what is ostensibly his apartment in Metropolis, we think, who knows, but, you know, putting his boots on, looking a little bit, not necessarily excited to face what's in the day, looking a little like he's getting too old for this shit. You know, it's an interesting choice. And I think a lot of, and again, this I'm saying with no judgment or context in either way, but Zack Snyder, and Johnny, you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but like a lot of the stuff that he was really interested in talking about with Man of Steel is Kal-El as this immigrant, Kal-El as this almost godlike figure. I mean, particularly when you get to Batman versus Superman, some of the Christ-like and godlike imagery and the way that we look at these heroes as our modern day gods, that's a lot of what Zack Snyder was interested in. And with James Gunn, just looking at a lot of his inspirations, and particularly looking at this photo, it looks like he's really more focused on the man in Superman. He wants Superman to be a guy that just happens to have these powers, but he is just a guy from Kansas who's doing what he thinks is right. So that is definitely a distinction from what Henry Cavill and Snyder did. So I'm intrigued by all this. It's an interesting first choice. No idea what's going on in the background there. We can talk about that in a minute. But what do you guys think about it?
Yeah, Shannon, what are your thoughts on this overall when you look at this outfit here, look at the costume, and the choice to frame it this way? And of course, as we said, we've got the logo here, a little scuffed up. We've got the red boots. We've got the cape kind of draped over, pretty massive cape, you would say, and shit going on in the background behind him there. So what are your thoughts on this overall look and overall release and the look of the outfit?
I mean, a few things, like the fact that they've been shooting for about 6 weeks, I think, releasing this photo. Now they don't have to worry about paparazzi getting the first shot of him out there.
Great points.
This is how they wanted to present it. The way it is being presented as he's tired, you know, I mean, it's like, oh, I really don't feel like going to work today. You know, you can see the shield has some battle damage there.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. I mean, I think in the past, a lot of times when you want to release the first image of whoever your hero is, you want it to look perfect. And maybe that's the take James Gunn is going with this, is that more grounded, not in a tonal sense, but grounded in a character sense. So he's a guy. I mean, you know, he's a guy that can fly and can shoot laser beams out of his eyes and is bulletproof, but he was brought up on Earth as a guy.
Yeah.
So I do think it's pretty interesting. Like for the New 52, I liked that Superman redesign. I mean, you know, say what you will about the stories if they didn't necessarily work for you, but the raised collar, the etchings on the suit itself, I actually thought that worked really well. But also bringing in the red trunks, which is something a little more classic, which is something that the New 52 sort of jettisoned. I think, as Vogel already said, like James Gunn is taken a little bit from here and a little bit from there. The look on Corenswet's face, one, he really looks like Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I mean,
these two guys really do favor, and even like the texture of their hair, they both have that kind of wavier hair. And having seen Corenswet in a few things, like I do think Corenswet's a good actor. In terms of like just sort of the color, this is James Gunn's take. It is a little more colorful, even in this more kind of serious shot. It is a little more colorful. You see that bright pink, purple energy beam, whatever's going on in the back. Even the walls, like it's the walls are blue and the trim on the windows is red. I mean, those are Superman's colors. Whether or not this set is even used, I mean, I know they said it was in camera. But whether or not this shot is even used, my guess is like, oh, this is a promo shot. I mean, I don't know if we're going to see this particular still from the film. We're going to see something, in spirit.
Can you imagine someone comes over to Clark Kent's apartment and he's like, I'm Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter. I just happened to paint my apartment in Superman colors just because I like him. I'm a big fan of the Superman.
I mean, you know, in a Nolan film, this would look a little more real world. And, you know, not that people don't have blue walls out there and red trim. I'm sure it's out there someplace. And the same with Zack Snyder. I mean, this would look a little more real world. I mean, this is very much James Gunn's world. And even though I'm still a little mixed on there just seems to be a lack of urgency with the giant thing in the background. But again, this is just another day. This is just another day for Superman. But this is a Superman who's earlier in his career, though, too. So it's interesting. Like, it's not the type of thing that I'm like, they're off. But I'm kind of like, this is not how I would have thought they would have done it. And maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think I got to pick up where you left off there, in my personal opinion. I'm a little underwhelmed by it, to be honest with you. I wanted something a bit more flashy. So it may just be that it didn't meet what I wanted. That doesn't mean it isn't a good shot. And I hear you, Mike, the putting on the boots. It's clear from the beginning that James Gunn said that he wanted this guy to be a Midwestern boy from Kansas with those values. This idea of being a blue collar boy who's going to work. And you can see him, as you said, putting on his boots, goes to work just like everybody else, puts on his boots one boot at a time. You see the scuffed up logo. That means my man's been in some dirt, working out, working in these places. He doesn't clean the costume. It's all, this is all the battles that have come before. And the face, yes, you can see the face as if he's maybe exhausted or irritated, but you can also see the face in another way is that this is what he does. This is just what he does. And he signed up for it and he knows what it is. And yes, it may get exhausting, but he knows what it is. I hope this is a staged shot and this is not what we see, because I look at this and that's a very expensive apartment with a massive a bunch of windows, and seeing the city. And if Metropolis is supposed to stand in for New York, that's a hell of a salary that he's making at the Daily Planet. Let me just have Jimmy Olsen should be fucking pissed that he gets to get an apartment like that. But I get what it's going for. It's darker. It's much more. So it's got that tone to it, even though there's a hopefulness to it. But I think overall I was a little underwhelmed. But the more I look at it, the more I might be changing my mind that this is something that's a little more showing you that this is a salt of the earth Superman, and what he does is just his job. So it'll be interesting to see if the tones work because he wants him to symbolize hope, but he also wants him to be a blue collar everyday guy. So I'm interested to see how the end result is going to be. But yes, a little underwhelmed, but I might be coming around on it. Go ahead, Mike.
I don't understand the large window equals super expensive apartment.
You come from a rich environment, so I don't know that you would know the difference. I don't come from a rich environment, and I would love to have had bay windows in my apartment when I was growing up. So
he's sitting in a chair by a window, an expensive chair. What do you know about that chair?
That ain't cheap.
That chair could be from IKEA. You don't know.
I don't know if Clark shops at IKEA in Metropolis.
I'm sure there's an IKEA in Metropolis. I kind of hear what everybody's saying. Like, it's less about whether it's an expensive apartment or not, which I don't think really is either here or there. Clark Kent is not required to be a down on his luck poor person in the way that like Peter Parker was in the comics. Like, Clark Kent's got a nice job. He works for a big paper. Like, he can probably afford a decent sized apartment.
I don't know.
He misses a lot of work too. So,
but I think what's more interesting is just the sparseness of the apartment. I mean, I don't I think the thing that makes it feel more like a promo shop than anything else is exactly what we're saying is like it's a chair and a window.
Yeah.
There's no like end table with like a newspaper or like a coffee cup. Like it doesn't look lived in. So that's what sort of makes it feel okay. I don't quite know where we are. If this even is his apartment, if this is somewhere else, is this like, who knows? So that part is going to be interesting to see. So I don't know how much, but I mean, I think to your point about the flashiness of it, one of the other big inspirations that James Gunn has constantly brought up is Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman run. And when you look at that very first image on the first cover of All-Star Superman, it's just Superman sort of sitting and looking at you over his shoulder. Like he's not like flying through the air. He's not ripping apart a robot. Like he's just sitting there. And this one has a little bit more urgency than that because he's clearly getting ready to go out and there's some shit going on. But I do think the intention kind of does harken back to that All-Star Superman cover of like, Superman's just a guy. Yeah. And I think that more than anything, I think like whether or not that appeals to you, you, Johnny, or you, anybody listening, and you wanted something more flashy. I mean, James Gunn, in his inspirations and everything he said, has been pretty clear in wanting to get that Kansas boy kind of what Superman's real superpower is his power to inspire, not his super strength or his heat vision. So I think this image, whether it ultimately works for you or not, is definitely intentionally what James Gunn wanted us to get from it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to go specific. I like this. I don't know what the lines and the imprints within the costume itself. I'm kind of a fan of that, to be honest with you. It has an armor, military soldier uniform type of vibe, really subtly playing as well amidst I saw some people say it's oversized. But I think that's an intentional thing. The costume is like a uniform he puts on to go to battle. And so I like that. There's not a lot of form-fitting uniforms in the military. Let me put that out. Now, I know there are people who lift weights and they like to wear one size smaller so you can really see their guns. But most people in the military, it's a loose-fitting thing so you can move. And so I think there's an element to that I like about the overall design of the costume. And I like the dirtiness of the logo. Like, that really appealed to me as I looked at it more and more. I like he's been through these battles, he's been through these wars, right? He's not sending his suit to the cleaners. So like, it's got that kind of edge to it that I really enjoy. And it does radiate blue collar, right? Like those pair of jeans you wear to work all the time, those roughed up boots you wear to work all the time. I do like that. Yeah, go ahead, Shannon. You were gonna say?
Okay, well, no, I was going to say with that raised collar, he is literally blue collar.
Oh boy! Oh boy! You are catching all these. I appreciate it. Tell me what this is, Shannon. What is this? What is this eyeball in the sky? Is this Brainiac? Is this I don't know. And is he too casual about the fact that Metropolis is getting obliterated while he's calmly putting on his boots? And look, I get that he has super speed, so maybe we're just catching him in this one micro frame of a second. But what do you think that thing is in the sky?
I mean, I have no idea. As it pertains to the story, I have no clue. I mean, it is another potentially another worldly threat.
Yes.
And probably the third or fourth one he's had to deal with this week. Hence the expression on his face. And I know I mentioned before, because I think you said it as well, Johnny, that lack of it seems like there is kind of a lack of urgency here. In a still, I actually don't know how you ratchet up the urgency. I don't know if you want to see him kind of hopping on one foot as he's pulling the boot on. Yeah, exactly.
Well, the question becomes, why even have it then behind him? Because wouldn't it have worked without it? It might have just worked without it. No.
I mean, potentially. We'll never know. But potentially. But I also think if you just have him randomly getting ready, with kind of a sour expression on his face, it's like, boy, this Superman's in a bad mood. There's a pebble in that right boot, apparently.
It is. If you take the beam out, it's that. So Superman's getting ready and he looks kind of tired. Whereas as soon as you put that there is a implied urgency that like he's getting suited up to deal with that thing behind him. And so I think that does give again, maybe this was misguided and the first shot should have been him, flying out the window. But like that, given that James Gunn wants to go with this everyman kind of vibe, it's like, I'm going to show you the everyman getting ready for work the way anybody would. His work just happens to be the giant space laser coming in out of the sky outside. You know what I mean? It is funny because purple, I looked at it and like, I just went Brainiac.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if I'm right or not. It probably isn't Brainiac at all, but like something about purple light coming from space in that way, I was like, it's Brainiac.
Feels like Brainiac script too. Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see. But I do think there is the vibe, and it'll be interesting to see as we see more and we hear more and we eventually get a trailer.
Yeah.
I do think there is gonna be this idea of like, I think Shannon said it. There's a big purple beam outside, and it's probably the third thing he's dealt with this week. And I think the idea being that like he's Superman. This is every day. Like, I don't have a sense of urgency when I wake up in the morning and I go, gotta write that script. Because that's what I'm doing most mornings. I'm like, all right, let me get my coffee and I guess I'll make my way in there. And I think if they can really make that work, that like this is a Tuesday for him.
Right.
There's another space beam. All right, guess I got to go deal with this again because I'm Superman and I'm the one who's got to do it. And like, not that he's bored, not that he's upset about it. Like, I think he's Superman. This is just what he does. But I think that this image, like it or not, is sparking more conversation than if it was just him hands on hips in the classic Christopher Reeve pose, or, him holding a giant car above his head in the style of the Action Comics cover. Like, this is definitely sparking conversation about what does this mean for this Superman and how is it different than Henry Cavill particularly, but Christopher Reeve or any other Superman that we've had.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I want to get super anal. Do we like the rubber on the bottom of the boots there? Does that seem a little weird to have the rubber on the bottom of the boots, like he's going out in the rain with his galoshes? Am I being a little too critical, or do we like?
Everybody needs traction on their footwear.
What do you think he's supposed to have on the bottom of those boots?
I don't know.
Some
What's
treads?
the non-slip surface? What is the ones the waiters wear so they don't slip around? I don't know.
Maybe
What if there was the Nike swoosh?
Super wheels? The Nike
What
swoosh.
about the Nike swoosh?
Oh, the Nike swoosh would have worked. I would have liked that. Little marketing action going on there. But Michael, I go back to you. Do you like the design? As I pointed out, these indentations and lines within the suit. I mean, we're looking at all the other suits here that have come before, and it is very similar to the Cavill suit in the way that it's designed. It's got a slightly darker edge to it. It's got some lines to it. When you look at it, you can see the lines throughout the suit, which seems to be the way I've seen sports jerseys on the soccer world have this thing as well in their designs, little lines that roll through it. So do you like this overall aesthetic for this particular suit?
Yeah, I mean, I think something they did with Cavill's suit, and I think that what you see in a lot of super suits, Spidey has it, T'Challa had it. Like when you're watching a suit on a giant screen and it's just fabric and there's no texture or detailing to it, it looks like someone's just wearing the pajama. You know, it's like you're wearing the super pajamas, like what we see in the comic strip. And when you add like little details to it, whether it's texturing, whether it's piping, whether it's all those things, that's what makes it feel more dimensional. It feels like it's real, it's heavier, it's got some weight to it. And if you bring up that image again of all the super suits that you just had on, and you kind of go through it, you know, you look from George Reeves all the way up to Brandon Routh, and like a lot of these, it looks like someone's just wearing, you know, a unitard.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them look very good in that unitard, but still, it's a unitard. And then you get to Henry Cavill, and you're like, okay, this is textured. So I think they're keeping with what, and again, Henry Cavill's definitely form-fitting, and the texturing is smaller. And this super suit has like some bigger details to it. And to your point about the uniform, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, but this looks a little bit like a cross between a traditional Superman costume and kind of like Marvel's MCU Captain America costume, as far as the soldier element of it and like the kind of the bigger piping stuff. So I think that, you know, they're definitely going for a little bit of a different vibe, but I definitely do think adding that texture and detailing is essential. I think it's really, really important. I mean, or for example, like the flip side of it is when you look at that last shot of Spider-Man in No Way Home, where he has clearly hand sewn his costume.
Oh yeah,
the lack of the detailing, the lack of all the texturing that he has on his Tony Stark Spidey outfit kind of makes it feel more homemade. So it's that homemade versus something different, and we're definitely getting something different here. This is not the suit that Martha Kent sewed for him, clearly.
Well, what do you think, Shannon? What do you think about the designs and the lines in the suit itself? Do you like the way this looks? Do you like what it's conveying? Do you feel like it's got some interesting new design here? What are your thoughts on the lines in the suit?
I mean, again, this is the majority. This is the new 52 suit. I mean, because the new 52 suit does have that kind of texturing, the lines, the indentations, and I think it looks really good. I mean, something that I did like that they did in Man of Steel is justifying why he's wearing this thing. Like this is what people on Krypton wore. This seems like sort of military. But it could also be, because again, where he comes from, we're presuming this is a Kryptonian suit. Where he comes from, they would probably need that extra protection because they have the red sun. They don't have superpowers on Krypton. It's just an alien. It's an alien world with a different colored sun. So I actually really, really like the suit. Again, the thing that really stood out to me, and this is the thing that I was like, okay, this is clearly what James Gunn is going for, is on his right shoulder, you can see where the suit is kind of buckling a little bit. And again, this is something traditionally, when you are releasing your first image of your big hero, that's not something you're going to see. Like that's something, exactly. You want it to look perfect like that Cavill suit. It's like the cowl that Sam Wilson wears with his Cap suit. When they shot it, because, the normal material doesn't, it moves differently than ink when you're drawing something for a comic. So, or the space around his mouth, it would flex and buckle a lot. So they went in with CGI and took that away, which I think they were right to do, because that would have looked weird. But for this, again, it seems to be very, very intentional that this is what this type of suit would do.
Yeah.
So I actually really like it.
Okay. I mean, it's a good point that like the ease with which they could have gone in with Photoshop and smoothed that out, they could have done that in 5 minutes. Like that would have been no issue to do. So the fact that we're seeing those creases is intentional. And I think that's part of the vibe. I think Shannon's 100% right about that.
What about this? Is any comparisons? Is his hold up? I saw some people online on social media say it's close to Homelander's suit in the way it's designed, the high neck, the red boots, the cape there. Did they borrow too much? Is it a stretch, or is it more of a combo between this one and this one? Is that how we get to this one? What is the truth?
Homelander suit they took from Superman.
Yeah, like the Homelander is clearly supposed to be Superman, so they took the Superman suit, added a gold collar and gold, so he has the red, white, and blue, and kind of almost this imperialistic kind of vibe. But you can't say that that James Gunn was taking from Homelander, because Homelander took from Superman. Like that's like, yes, the Homelander suit does look like the super suit because that's where it came from.
I didn't know if some people were accusing him of borrowing Homelander's design, which of course you're right, is based off the Superman design. So re-borrowing the design for Superman. But Shannon, you don't agree either, right? You think
no. I mean, like I don't know when the boys first came out, and whether or not
literally that is like watching a remake of Hamlet and saying you feel like they stole from the Lion King.
Or Fantastic Four, they stole from the Incredibles. Wait, what?
Yeah.
That suit is the new 52 suit. For the most part, with the red trunks.
Yeah, is okay. So that's we're at 27. We should wrap up. Any final words on this? Anything we missed that you want to make sure we stress here? Michael, I go to you first, and then Shannon. Any final words on this release of this outfit and the way it was staged and framed here by James Gunn and the photographer?
No, I mean, look, I think this is, like I said, I think Shannon's right. I'd rather they did this than us seeing like some random photo that some paparazzi took where he's like, running to his trailer and we just get a glimpse of it. Like, I think seeing it this way, and I think that this is a smart move. I think this is how they should do it. We all know that we're geeks and everybody's going to want to see stuff. So like kind of getting in front of it is the smart way to do it. And I like that we're having the conversation. Is this ultimately going to be the Superman that I want it to be? We'll see. Is this ultimately the Superman you all want? Who knows? But the fact that we're actually having this debate and like diving in and talking about what kind of Superman this is, I think the conversation being sparked is good. We got a long way to go until this movie comes out. So we got a whole lot of time to bitch, moan, guess, and most likely be wrong about what James Gunn is planning.
Wait till we get to the first Lois Lane business suit. There's certainly going to be a lot of conversations there, I think. Shannon, any final words here as we wrap up on this? Any final thoughts?
I mean, I overall like some of the creative choices I'm a little confused by, but I'm also like I like it. I like the way that he looks in the suit. There are photos online of Corenswet's post workout biceps, and that dude is huge. Really? I mean, his arms are gigantic. Wow. So knowing that this guy is 6'4" with those enormous biceps, I mean, he is going to be a towering, statuesque Superman. So even though like I didn't understand all of the creative intention, overall, I still think this is cool, and I can't wait for that movie to come out.
I think this is what you're talking about. Sweet Mary, Mother of God.
Yep, okay. That's the one.
All right. Yeah, those are guns. Those are certainly guns. I don't know why you don't go form-fitting with those, Mike. I don't know. It's just my opinion. Okay. So overall, I think these two like it a little bit more than I do, but I may be coming around on it than my initial reaction earlier in the morning. But either way, I do like the brighter blue. I do like the lighter blue. I do like the brighter red. And that makes me feel like old school Superman. So I'm excited to see how this is going to be in action and what more looks we get as we get closer and closer to the release date of this movie overall. Because look, Zack Snyder's Superman is Zack Snyder's Superman, and it fit, and I loved it for Zack Snyder's Superman. this is James Gunn, and he's allowed to go in the direction he wants to go to. And we should hold out judgment until we fully see it in action and see it in the movie. So, all right, well, there you go. That's our overall thoughts on that. So thanks so much for watching this episode of the Geek Bites, brought to you by the Geek Buddies. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at geek_buddies, on Instagram at the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is at MKToon. If you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is at The Rocha Says.
Mikey?
Go ahead and smash that like button below. Subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. Check out all the amazing content he's got. Leave your comments below. I know you got opinions. Put them in the chat below. Let us know what you think of that suit. If you're listening to us on a podcast, go ahead and leave us some stars and comments so we go up in the rankings and more people can find us. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
There you go. Thank you all again for watching this or listening to this. And look out for our new content later on this week, X-Men 97, and our overall main show later on this week, brought to you by the
Geek